Welcome to this screencast about screencasts. My name's Annie Taylor. I work for City of Bristol College here in Bristol in the UK. Back in April and May, I knew that I was going to have to deliver CELTA 100% online, which was terrifying. And I came across this tool that has really changed the way that I do TP and lesson planning, and I'd like to share it with you today. This is how it started. I decided to do the Future Learn course, Teaching English Online, with Marie-Therese Swaby and Lindsay Warwick, which was absolutely brilliant, really helpful. And part of that was them talking about using a tool called Screencast-O-Matic as a way of giving students feedback on their written work. And I thought, oh, that sounds great. Maybe I could use that for giving trainees feedback on their assignments or their resubmitted assignments in particular. How else could I use it? So I thought I'd take a look at it. Here it is. Here's the web page. As you can see, it's free, it's easy to download, and you get 15 minutes of free screencasting time. It's a very, very easy tool to use. There are tutorials on YouTube on how to get started. You'll find it really simple. And I thought, well, this is the answer. This is the answer to all the problems I've been having about TP points and supervised lesson planning over the years. I do hate writing TP points. They are so time consuming. On our course we start off with some quite prescriptive ones and they take ages to write, and then we move on to grids and quite a short amount of information, and then we rely on supervised lesson planning to talk the students through the material and encourage them to ask questions and things like that. It always feels a bit unsatisfying, and I'm never quite sure why. Probably largely to do with this one here. Trainees just don't seem to be able to follow. And, well, they're just exhausted, really, or they're thinking about something else, and they're just on a bit of a different wavelength. And I don't blame them. They've got a lot to take on. Some of them come with questions. Some of them just sit there looking at you, almost expecting you to hand them the lesson on a plate. So I've got limited time for SLP, and I need to make it more useful. What I find is this big black thing in the middle. This is what happens. Why is the lesson that I am watching today in TP absolutely nothing like what we talked about yesterday in SLP? Well, lots of reasons, and maybe screencasting could be the solution. So that's what I thought I would do. So here's a screenshot of me doing a screencast. This comes from Language to Go Pre-Intermediate by G. Cunningham and S. Mohammed, published by Longman. It's something that we use quite a lot for our teaching practice. What I do is I make a screencast about the whole 2-hour lesson. We use it for about 2 hours. And then I send that screencast link to my trainees along with the material so that they can look at it before supervised lesson planning. And that way they're primed and ready with questions, and they've got an idea of what's going to happen. And hopefully that means in supervised lesson planning I don't have to talk through the whole lesson. It means that we can do the other things. It's more about how you're going to do it than what you're going to do. And at that point I'll tell them who's doing what. But I find by making them watch the whole screencast, they are more aware of what the other teachers in the lesson are doing. So I like to start off with an overview. So I'd probably say, well, what are the aims of this material? We've got a grammar focus here, control practice, freer practice. We've got a reading as well, and we've got some vocabulary at the beginning. So, and then just give it an overview, and then I can focus in on different activities by changing the grid size on the Screencast-O-Matic, pausing and moving on. So you can focus in on particular activities, or you can show them parts of the teacher's book that are useful, or other resources that they might want to use for this lesson as well. So you can say something like, well, here's the grammar focus, and I can want to see how engaged the students will be in this. Oh, this is good. There's a question for the students to answer here, so an element of guided discovery. But let's have a look at the form. It's just given to them here. I think we could engage the students more. So you can talk through how you would like them to approach this and give them different options as well of how to do that. And you can relate it back to input sessions. You can say, remember the input session on Test Teach Test, or whatever your your sessions are called and link back to those sessions nice and clearly. You can choose how you do it. You can be quite detailed about the concept questions they could ask for these particular vocab items. You could talk about approach. You could say, well, what's your assumption about this vocabulary for your students? Do you think that they know quite a lot of it, or you're not sure? Perhaps the test-teach-test approach would be best. Or you could look at a different piece of material and talk about task-based learning. Give them different options of how to approach a different task. For reading activities, I tend to say, okay, so this is receptive skills. Remember the stages of a receptive skills lesson. First, you need to blah, 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 and then blah, 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 as a way of reinforcing the lesson shapes that we have already introduced to them in input. So why do I love it so much? Well, these are the pros, and I'm sure there are many, many more, but these are the ones that come to mind at first for me. It's easy to use, and it's free, as I've mentioned. I send them that screencast and they watch it before SLP, and therefore they come with an idea of what to do, or they come with questions ideally. They can watch the screencast as many times as they like, so they can watch it when they're not exhausted, when they're not thinking about something else. And sometimes it avoids this kind of problem where the trainee does something and in the lesson and then says, oh, but you told me to do it like that, because they've misunderstood what you said. It allows the trainer to reinforce the lesson shapes and approaches, as I've said, and link back to input sessions. And I like this last point here. I think it's important for trainees to see the kind of process that a teacher goes through when they're looking at materials. When you're looking at it and you're thinking, oh, that's great, or that's not so good, why is that there, or that's brilliant, but it's not going to work with my students. Those sorts of things are really invaluable, I think. I suppose I've got to include the cons, haven't I? I don't think there are any, as you can see by my nice short list here. They're big files. You can't email them. However, it's so simple to save them and then share the link with your trainees. I started up a YouTube channel, just had a Gmail account and started a YouTube channel. That's where you'll be finding this particular screencast. City Bristol College, myself and my colleague Donna Selleck, we now have our own YouTube page where we put up all our materials that we're gathering together. So we'll be able to use them for many, many years and months to come and just go back to them. You might feel it's too prescriptive as the course goes on, but of course that just depends how you make the screencast. It's down to you. There might be other cons, but I don't know what they are. Feedback from trainees has been great, I have to say. They've really felt the benefit. Particularly that first group that I had was when we were in a really harsh lockdown here. They found it really useful. And I'm continuing to find it useful. It seems to be a really, really great tool for the trainees, and it seems to be doing all the things that I hoped it would do, which you can see here. I really like this bit that talking through the pages and suggesting how a certain task could be extended, shortened, or even omitted. It really helps the trainees to think about how to approach the material. And that last point there, they could watch it over and over again and not go too far off task. I think that's a good thing. Don't let your mind go over and over again up till 2 o'clock in the morning, overthinking things. It pulls them back to a basic outline that they can use. So use it, please do. Have a go and see what you think. And if you've got ideas of different ways to use it, or if you've got any feedback or comments, I'd love to hear it. So I'll take you back to see my email address here again. Please do get in touch if you have any comments or questions about how to use it. I'm already coming up with other ideas of how to use this in CELTA. So looking forward to making more changes. I think that this is a great thing to use on face-to-face courses as well as in the 100% online environment. I'll certainly be moving forward with this into the future, and it's lovely to think that something good, some innovation has come out of this horrible situation that we have all found ourselves in, working with CELTA 100% online. I've enjoyed it, and part of it has been finding new things to do, new approaches, and this in particular has really, I'd say it's revolutionised the way that I do TP and supervised lesson planning. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks very much.